Hi, my name's Tamid, and this is a presentation on the Mariner 1 mission failure. So for the background, Mariner 1 was the first spacecraft that NASA designed to conduct a planetary flyby of Venus, and this was part of NASA's Interplanetary Mariner program. The spacecraft carried about 20 pounds or 9 kilograms of scientific instrumentation that was intended to return data on Venus's atmosphere, magnetic field, charged particle environment, and mass. The spacecraft was expected to maintain contact with Earth for about 15 weeks, and Mariner 1 was launched from Cape Canaveral, Florida on July 22nd, 1962. So to go over some technical details, Mariner 1 was launched using a Atlas Agena rocket which contained an onboard autopilot which was equipped with sequencers that could let it follow a pre-planned trajectory. The mission also used a Burroughs Mod 1 guidance computer. This computer communicated with the rocket through ground-based tracking systems, which consisted of a tracking radar and a rate measuring radar, which is shown in the picture here. The tracking radar determined the direction of the vehicle using the location of its pulse beacon, and the rate radar helped with the velocity calculations by collecting data from the rate beacon. And all of this data would be integrated into the rocket guidance equations that the Burrow computer would use to send commands back to the autopilot on the rocket. And this was done so it could adjust its trajectory as needed. So here are two pictures that kind of illustrates what the overall system looks like here. So here you have the guidance computer that communicates with the booster on the rocket. And here's just a real-world picture of the Atlas Agena booster rocket. So shortly after liftoff, the Atlas Agena booster rocket that was equipped to Mariner 1 began drifting northeast of its planned trajectory. Corrective steering commands were sent back to the rocket, but Atlas would proceed further off course regardless. And afterwards, the JPL engineers found that Atlas was destined to crash into the North Atlantic Ocean's shipping zones and nearby inhabited areas if immediate action wasn't taken. So just 6 seconds before the Agena was scheduled to separate from the Atlas, at which point destruction of the rocket would be impossible, the range safety officer at the scene issued a command to the rocket to self-destruct, which it did, and this destroyed Mariner 1 in the process. So what caused the Atlas Agena rocket to drift off course? Firstly, the rate beacon on Mariner 1 failed, and because of this, the ground-based rate radar was unable to use the signals that normally would have been transmitted for use in its velocity calculations, which would have been integrated into the equations that were calculated by the Burrow computer. And secondly, there was a typo in the guidance equations contained in the software that was loaded onto the Burrow computer, which ended up misguiding the Atlas rocket. So the typo, which was an R standing for radius, should have had a bar over it as shown in the picture. The overbar is supposed to indicate that the value being used is smooth or filtered instead of a raw instantaneous value. But since the bar was missing, the guidance computer made wrongful computations and it didn't send the right trajectory calculations to the rocket. And because of this, the program that was on the Burroughs computer also erroneously reported that the velocity was fluctuating in an erratic and unpredictable manner, which the program did try to correct for, but this ended up causing actual erratic behavior, which prompted the range safety officer to destroy the rocket. So here's a fault tree that illustrates the faults that occurred. Everything that's boxed in red is what led to the failure of the Mariner 1 mission, which again was the bug in the guidance equations that were loaded onto the Burroughs computer, as well as the lost communication from the rate beacon. So the loss of the Mariner 1 constituted a setback of $18.5 million, or $179 million in today's dollars for NASA. The typo in the guidance equations were corrected, and it was loaded onto the Burroughs computer that would communicate with the Mariner 2 spacecraft, which successfully launched 36 days later and completed the mission to Venus. Here are my references. This concludes my presentation.